A medical student spends the night out with friends, but never makes it back home.
I have so many questions about what happened.
Mysterious surveillance footage seems to show the impossible.
His friends are seen leaving, but he is not seen on any of the cameras.
There's just all these unanswered questions.
What has happened to Brian Shaffer?
My name is Lori Davis, and I'm an advocate for the Shaffer family. Brian Shaffer went missing on April 1st, 2006 from Columbus, Ohio.
27-year-old Brian Shaffer grows up with big dreams in small-town Ohio.
He grew up in Pickerington, Ohio. He was very good at tennis, and some even say that he could have went semi-pro.
Inspired by his mother, Renee, a nurse, Brian decides to pursue a career in medicine. In 2004, he enrolls in a medical school in Columbus.
Brian was extremely close with his mother. She had had cancer, and they spent a lot of time at the hospital together, and I believe that relationship grew stronger because of that.
But in March 2006, Renee loses her battle against cancer. Brian is devastated.
When she died, that did rock Brian's world.
Brian has one last gift from his mother to look forward to: a spring break trip to Miami with his girlfriend, Alexis.
The trip was a Christmas gift from Renee to Brian. He was excited. It was the end of the semester before spring break, but I think he was looking forward to spending time with Alexis. There is speculation that Brian may propose to her.
On the first night of spring break, Brian goes out bar hopping with friends.
They went to the Ugly Tuna Saloona. They had a few drinks. There was a band playing.
The bar is packed. When the lights come on at 2 a.m., he's nowhere to be found.
His friends actually called Brian, tried to find him, went and looked in the bathroom.
Finally, they assume that Brian must have walked home on his own.
And they ended up leaving and going home. The following day, his girlfriend was getting concerned because she was unable to reach Brian.
She calls his father, Randy.
Randy told me it was around 7 p.m. when he got the call that something was wrong, that no one was able to reach Brian, that he had not slept in his bed. Brian was reported missing that Sunday evening.
The next morning, Randy Shaffer's worst fears are confirmed when Brian doesn't show up for his flight to Miami.
When Brian missed his flight on Monday, Randy really knew that he was in trouble.
I'm retired Sergeant John Hurst from the Columbus Police Department. I was working prior to my retirement, the Brian Shaffer case.
After Brian misses his flight to Miami, police expand their search efforts.
We were able to check airlines to make sure that he didn't show up and take the flight without his girlfriend. When we talked to the family on Monday, we found out that Brian was with his friend Clint Florence from the university, and they had went to the Ugly Tuna Saloona.
Detectives' attention turns to the bar. Surveillance video shows Brian just moments before he disappears.
We were able to watch them from the garage all the way into the Ugly Tuna Saloona, where we had them going up the escalator and back into the bar.
Brian looked very happy. He was talking, smiling.
The last thing we did see that evening of Brian was he was out on the upper level.
A couple security guards are standing there, and then Brian is talking with two females.
After the women leave, Brian is seen re-entering the bar just before 2 a.m.
We seen Brian go back off the camera and were unable to locate him leaving the building.
Every exit is covered by a camera. Brian is never caught on camera leaving the bar.
We went through the Ugly Tuna Saloona bar, checking for any type of exit or areas where somebody may have been able to slip out.
The only way Brian could have left undetected was through a back door in the middle of a construction zone. But why would he sneak away?
He has no reason to just up and disappear.
Brian's friends are at a loss.
We did find out that Clint and Brian had a verbal altercation inside the bar. We did try to get Clint Florence to come in and do a polygraph, but he contacted an attorney and decided to not take a polygraph. The question comes up, why did he not take the polygraph? But some people just don't trust polygraphs.
Without more evidence, police have no reason to pursue Clint as a suspect. Instead, they focus their efforts on finding Brian.
We did work with the cell phone company. Unfortunately, the technology back then isn't as sophisticated as it is now. The last signal was around 2:10 a.m. when a text was sent by Clint asking where he was. We had search dogs come in. We had the dive team check the Olentangy River. No stone was left unturned.
Thankfully, Brian received a lot of media attention.
We had tips that come in that Brian was in numerous states throughout the country, Sweden, Jamaica.
Not one single tip has panned out.
Nearly 6 months after Brian's disappearance, a new lead emerges.
Alexis would call him daily, and it would always go directly to voicemail. It was in September of 2006. The phone actually did not go to voicemail, it rang.
Was it Brian on the other end?
The technician explained that just had more to do with the cell phone tower sending out a signal looking for the phone, which would cause a delay.
We're being told that that was a glitch, but we're not sure about that even to this day. It gave so much hope to the family. Imagine how you would feel when you hear, oh my goodness, it actually rang.
In April 2006, Brian Shaffer vanishes from Columbus, Ohio, and hasn't been seen since. 2 years later, tragedy strikes again.
We had a severe storm move through the area, high winds.
The next morning, I received a phone call. Randy had been killed the following evening. A tree had fallen on him. I knew that day that I couldn't give up on Brian's case. When Randy left this world, he had so many questions about his son. I have to believe that Randy knows all those answers now.
Brian's remaining loved ones continue to search for answers.
Brian's got a brother, he's got a sister-in-law, he's got a nephew, he's got friends that still love him and still write to me about him.
The family didn't give us any indication that he was depressed or upset to the point that he would do something.
I have to hope Brian's alive. The only other option is not a good option.
Maybe Brian left everything behind to start over somewhere new. But where would he go and why?
He was on the path to become a doctor, but many have speculated that possibly that wasn't his dream, but that was his parents' dream.
We've had reports that he wanted to go to Florida and be a beach bum.
Brian wrote on MySpace that he would rather be on a beach smoking with Bob Marley. So was that Brian being funny, or was that truly what Brian Shaffer wanted?
If he did take off, why? And, if it was suicide, why?
Those who know Brian best have a different theory.
Randy never even considered the thought that maybe Brian had walked away. He felt that Brian had met with foul play.
If he did succumb to some type of foul play, somebody out there knows something.
The people closest to Brian still hope that one day they'll learn the truth.
I always get the question asked, what do I think happened? Is Brian alive? Is he still out there? My answer to that is there's nothing to indicate that he's not out there.
Brian was 6'2". He was approximately 165 to 170. He had hazel eyes, and he does have a dot on the left iris that would be noticeable. He also has a Pearl Jam stickman tattoo on the right bicep.
My hope is someday that we will have all the answers and give some closure to the family.
I ask that anyone that has factual information to share that. It's been long enough.